Well, happy Wednesday, everybody. We're in the middle of January already. I can't believe it. And it's a brand new year, right? 2022. And so I thought this would be a really good time to talk. You know, everybody's has their goals set for, or you should have goals set for 2022 and you know, where you want to go with your life this year and actually the following years. And so I thought I would touch on the topic that is near and dear to many of us as women. And we're going to talk a little bit about menopause. And some of you may have heard me talk about this in the past, but and some of you haven't. And I think it's important that we talk about this frequently throughout the year because it's a large topic. There's a lot of things that happen to us when we go through menopause. And the first thing that I really want to talk about, hey Pam, is, I hear from a lot of women, well, I went and hit menopause and I gained all this weight. I gained 20 pounds, I gained 25 pounds, and I think menopause caused it. And so what I wanted to talk about, I was going to talk about how the brain is affected with, how menopause affects our brains. But I decided to talk a little bit more about, does menopause cause weight gain? I mean, what's the answer, yes or no? And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And I want to see that you guys are here. I want you to wave and say hi. And hey, Cindy, nice to see that you're here. Yes, it is a great topic. Like I said, we could talk about many, many different things related to menopause for sure. But I'm going to focus a little bit on, does menopause cause weight gain, and is it yes or is there a no? And so we're going to talk about 3 phases of menopause because every single woman goes through menopause. It doesn't matter who you are, if you're a woman, it's going to happen to you. And I'm going to talk about hormonal changes. We're going to talk about aging, lifestyle, and genetics, and all that kind of stuff. And so there are 3 phases of menopause. All women, like I said, go through these phases. By the way, I just have some notes in front of me so I can stay on track so we don't drag this out for an hour because I want to be mindful of your time. And so the 3 phases are perimenopause, plain old menopause, and then post-menopause. And what are they? What happens during that time? Hey, Jody, love the thumbs up. That's awesome. Cool. If you guys have any questions or comments about it, what you might be going through, I would welcome that. So please just go ahead and write in your comments, and then at the end I'll answer. Or if it gets too late, I will. Hey, Julia, nice to see you. I don't see you, but I see that you're here. That's cool. Anyway, if you have comments, please make them, and I can always answer them after the live and get back to you. So let's start right in with perimenopause. And some of you have been through this already, so you will relate. Some of you haven't, but your cycles become irregular. It usually happens around the age of 47. Some women, it's earlier. Some women, it's a little bit later. But most women will notice symptoms like hot flashes and things like that. You have to be careful here in this perimenopausal phase because you can still get pregnant, right? And if that's something that you don't want to have happen at a later time in your life, you just need to be aware of that. So then menopause, what did you say, Jody? I gotta look at this. Menopause starts around age 51, and it happens when it happens naturally because sometimes if you have cancer and you're getting treatments for cancer and that happens earlier, then you can be put into menopause earlier, right? It throws you right into that. It can happen though before you turn 40, and that's like premature menopause. And so you will know when you're past the menopause phase is when you go a whole year without your period, right? So that's when your ovaries no longer make estrogen or progesterone. So some of the menopausal symptoms, and I'm sure you guys can relate to this, mood swings, lower sex drive, right? Hot flashes, we talked a little bit about that. Sweating, your heart races, so you feel like you're maybe having palpitations or something like that. headaches, vaginal dryness and soreness, painful sex, and the big one, I mean, other than, the low sex drive and things and all these other things, is the sleeping. Because then the sleeping leads to all kinds of other problems, right? So postmenopause, so that's just the menopause, the perimenopause, but postmenopause is when you hit that year mark from having your final period. And once that happens, then you are considered postmenopausal for the rest of your life, right? So, Jody said, menopause feels like your body betrays you. That's a good way, right? That is a good way to put that. So, I love it. Thanks for sharing that. That's great. So you're going to go through all these hormonal changes during menopause. So estrogen is one of the primary sex hormones in females, and it plays a role in your physical sex characteristics. It's like when you start getting your period and stuff. It regulates the menstrual cycle. It helps maintain your bone health. It regulates your cholesterol level. So it does a lot of. Estrogen is obviously something that you need. But during menopause, those estrogen levels drop off, and they really go down quite substantially. Progesterone works alongside estrogen in regards to fertility, and so that's, when you are able to have children, it's probably the best time to have children, and obviously if that's what you so choose. But progesterone levels do decrease during menopause. So with progesterone, we know that there are a lot of benefits with progesterone: cardiovascular health, nervous system health, brain function, breast health, all of that. So I just wanted to kind of touch on what those hormones are, that they do decrease. That's why we have those symptoms of the hot flashes, the low sex drive, all those kinds of things. That just kind of gives you a little bit of a background. But so what I wanted to talk a little bit is, the conversation that I have over and over is, does menopause cause weight? And there is a society called the International Menopausal Society, if you guys didn't know that, something that you can definitely Google and look up. But this is what they say: hormonal changes alone, so that decrease in progesterone and estrogen, don't necessarily cause menopausal weight gain. Instead, the weight gain that you experience during that time is related to aging, getting older. Nobody wants to really say they're getting older, but it happens. It's going to happen to all of us. It happens to men as well as lifestyle. Like, things change as you get older. Menopause hits. You're almost ready to retire, right? You're slowing down a little bit, as far as activity. You're not busy chasing kids around, that kind of thing. So instead, the weight gain, also related to genetic factors, and we'll get into that. So the way that fat is deposited in your body changes at menopause. So that's really what happens. You're not necessarily gaining the weight, but the fat, where the fat goes and where it lies, changes during that time. So the reason that happens is because your estrogen drops. So the fat is deposited different that way. So irrespective, though, as to whether women do or do not gain weight around menopause, women do experience a shift in their fat stores in their abdomen. So so it doesn't cause weight gain necessarily, but you experience that shift of fat cells up into your abdomen. That's normal because estrogen drops. So I wanted to share a quote with you. Yes, and then people call it menopausal belly. And yes, it happens, but there's ways that we, as women in our age, we can control it, and also decrease it and those kinds of things. So there is a quote from a professor at the University of Melbourne, Australia, and I'm going to share this with you. So I'm going to read it. So it is a myth that menopause causes a woman to gain weight. It really is just a consequence of environmental factors and aging which cause that. But there is no doubt that the new spare tire, we talked about women talk about that all the time. I hear it every day. So that spare tire that many women complain of after menopause is real. So it's not in your head. And it's not a consequence of any changes that you have made. Rather, it's the body's response to the fall in estrogen at menopause. It's a shift of fat storage from the hips to the waist. right? Right. So think about that. She also notes, and we all know this, that an increase in abdominal fat increases the risk of disease, such as diabetes and heart disease. So, and we know heart disease is the number one killer of postmenopausal women. And it's increased by more weight. And so that's super scary. And that's something you should all think about too, if you have family and friends. So, so women going through menopause should begin to try and control their weight before it becomes a problem. And that's the difficult piece, because a lot of times we're busy taking care of kids, or kids are going to college, and you're doing all these other things that you put those needs, which is not like a terrible thing, but you put them before your needs and your health and taking care of you. And then it does become a problem. So if you've in that category where you've not been looking after yourself before menopause, you need to do it now. Like, it is really, really important. And you need to be thoughtful about what you eat. And you need to be thoughtful and be more active every day, or 3 times a week, or 4 times a week. Active doesn't mean constantly doing something. It means really focusing an hour on strength and conditioning. That's the biggest thing. And a little bit of cardio, that kind of stuff. So what is it about aging and lifestyle and genetics? And there's other factors that attribute to weight gain. Okay, guys, I have to interrupt my live because I gotta let my dog out. All right, I'm back. So sorry for that. So now you know I'm at home with my dog, and he was driving me nuts. So here we are. So let's get back to, the aging, during menopause. It's called aging, right? Lifestyle, genetics, and all those. There are other factors that attribute to weight gain. Thor, he is something else. But, so aging, what happens as we get older? And you probably know some of these things, but it helps just to kind of talk about it and put it in perspective. So your muscle mass diminishes. This happens for men too. What happens to them is their testosterone drops off, and then that's they have their own issues, if you will. Fat increases, happens to men too. Losing muscle mass actually slows your metabolism, right? So you want to build lean muscle, have lean muscle, which will keep your metabolism where it needs to be. So if you continue to eat as you always have, and you don't increase your physical activity, you're likely to gain weight. So does menopause cause you to gain weight? Just pure simple menopause? In my humble opinion, no, it doesn't. Hey, Kathy. It is those things. Continuing to eat as you always have, fast food, processed foods, those kinds of things, and you're inactive. And some of us have been forced to be a little bit more inactive because of COVID and restrictions and working from home. But then we need to change that, right? We need to pivot and go in a different direction. But that will lead to increased weight for sure. Genetic factors may play a role. So if your parents or other close relatives carry extra weight around the abdomen, you're likely to do the same. But you cannot use that as an excuse for poor choices, bad behavior, and all of that. You cannot use that as an excuse. You can't say your mom is diabetic and obese, and so that's just the way it's going to be. You have control over some of that. So when you think about genetics is about 25% cause of things that you may face. It's not 100%. So remember that. You can't change your eye color, that kind of thing. Sometimes you can't change the fact that you have a higher cholesterol and it runs in your family, but you're eating well and you're exercising and you're not overweight and things like that. So, other factors too. We talked about some of this earlier about lack of exercise, unhealthy eating, and not enough sleep will cause problems as you get older during menopause that leads to weight gain. So when you don't get enough sleep, what happens? Just think about it. If you do not sleep well, what do you crave? You crave carbs. You snack more, mainly the carbs that aren't good for you, the potato chips, the breads, all those kinds of things, the comfort foods. And so you snack more and then you consume more calories because Carbohydrates give you energy, so if you're not sleeping well, you're going to be tired during the day, so you're going to crave those foods. That's just normal. So we want to focus on, getting enough sleep. That to me is number one as we get older. So menopause, I'm just going to go back here, and actually Julianne has something really nice here. Food choices and regular exercise and moderate weight training is key. She says she's 56 now, and so am I. And at 50, when she started boot camp with me, her life changed, and she's in the best shape of her life. You can build muscle after 50, right? Very true. But commitment is your to your health is key. Very, very true. Thanks for sharing that, Juliana. It is important to hear that from you, other women out in the community. It's truly powerful to be able to put on nice lean muscle, and you can still do that. You can actually do that up into your 90s. So menopausal weight gain isn't inevitable, unless you make it that way. You can reverse that weight gain by paying attention to healthy eating habits and leading an active lifestyle. So how do you do that, right? Again, exercise 3 times a week minimum, strength training, lifting some weights. You will not get bulky because you will not be taking steroids, right? So it's key that you do put on some nice lean muscle, because that will increase your metabolism, that will increase your hormones. You will then start to burn off fat, right? The belly fat, the fat on your hips, all of that kind of stuff. Remember, fat doesn't come off just in one area, it comes off our total body. Nutrition, whole foods, eating enough protein. I can't stress that enough. A lot of times women, we eat very little because we think we're going to lose weight. And what happens is you'll lose weight, but you're losing muscle. And then you maintain that fat. So if you're not eating enough calories to sustain what you're doing as far as your activity, you are not fueling your body, and then the fat that you do have will stay, because what'll happen is it's going to be like, oh, Diana's not eating enough. I got to hang on to this fat because she won't survive, right? And so that's what happens. So nutrition is key, and you need to eat enough protein to sustain your lifestyle, whether you're super active, moderately active, or not as active. You really, 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 really need to watch that. Mindset. I know it's a huge topic, right? I honestly could talk about it as more of your belief system. It's your identity. So changing your current belief system and morphing your identity is key. Being the person that you want to be, being the woman that wants to, wear that bikini, being the woman that wants positivity and more energy and wants to be active with her grandkids, all of that. Adjust your mindset, right? So, and we talked about this the other day, about discipline and motivation. Motivation being the goal, and discipline being disciplined enough to meet that goal. Positive lifestyle habits. So learning how to eat, learning how to exercise, transforming that mindset, transforming the way you think and believe who you are. Believe, sometimes those belief systems and the identity you have about yourself isn't serving you really well. And sometimes that just comes from how you were raised, some of the situations that you've been in throughout your life and how they're affecting you. But you have choices to change that. And sometimes you just need a little guidance with that. You need a path. You need something to stick to, and accountability. And it'll happen. And sometimes we need hormone replacement therapy. So that's an option too. And that's a whole nother topic. And we can definitely talk about hormone replacement therapy. We can talk about the pros and cons of that, but it's certainly not out of the question. It doesn't hurt to have your labs done and meet with somebody to talk about hormone replacement therapy, so you can help you live through the hot flashes and help you sleep better and all of that. So those are a lot of different ways to help change what menopause does to us, right? We all go through that. So I know that's a lot of information, and I rattled it off quite fast. So I would love to hear or see, I guess, any questions that you have, any comments. I know, Kathy, you said and after 62, right? Yes, so well into your, however long you want to be active, because you guys, really, it's about longevity too. So we're going to live for 50, 60 more years. Our first chapter, it's past, we can't change that, but we have the ability to change this next chapter, do something different. You are able to make those choices and not use the excuse that menopause caused me to gain 20 pounds. Sometimes things do happen in our life where we are forced into menopause because of cancer treatments and things like that, right? And sometimes that wreaks havoc on all of our hormones, as well as all the other things going on in our bodies too. So that's really a different circumstance. But to say that menopause that happens naturally, which is normal for every woman, unless those circumstances, causes 20 pounds or 25 pounds or whatever, it shifts the fat cells, right? And they kind of shift up into that belly area. And we call it the menopausal belly because of the decrease in the estrogen and the progesterone. So sometimes hormone replacement therapy will help that as well. So we have control over that. Does it happen overnight? No, it doesn't happen overnight, or everybody would be doing it and we wouldn't be having this talk, and nobody would say menopause made me, or whatever you want to use, made me gain 50 pounds or whatever it might be. So, I mean, it's a topic that I love to talk about, and I'm learning more and more about it all the time. And if you have questions, I'd be more than happy to either answer them or find the answer. So Julianne said, yes, mindset can be a difficult hurdle. You have to get out of your own mind and make small goals, reach them, and make new ones. Very true. So it's we talk about resolutions, but it's really not resolutions. It's making a plan of action. It's getting your disciplinary muscle in line so that you follow an organized path. And sometimes you need somebody that says, I'd like you to do this. I need you to eat this. I need you to watch this video, whatever it might be, to help guide you there. So that's another way to look at it. Work with somebody, have an accountability partner as you're on your journey. So I think a lot of that is very helpful. It's helped me. And where I started in my mid-40s wanting to change what was happening to me. And honestly, if I can do it, you guys can do it. And I did ask for help, and there's nothing wrong with that. Some of us can do it on our own, and it's great, right? Not very many of us can, or you just need a little bit of that guidance to get you on that, to get you started, to get you on that right path. That way you also learn a lot of healthy lifestyle habits through the process when you're on that journey, that when you do fall off, because we all dive into bad foods, the holidays were just here, we do that, but knowing enough to go, okay, I'm done with that, let's get back on track. I mean, the holidays come once a year, so and the average weight gain's about 8 pounds. You can lose that, right? You can get back on track and lose that, or you just don't, or you make smart choices during the holidays, but you plan on making bad choices in a way. You plan on having a glass of wine, you plan on having a piece of pie. So anyway, I could go on and on. But in essence, my total takeaway, and I want you guys to, this is my humble opinion, is menopause does not is the primary cause for you to gain weight. There's just all those multiple factors, and we can reverse that, right? We don't want to let it go too long, because then it'll take longer to reverse that. But regardless, you can make changes to, be different, feel different, be better, feel better, wear the bikini, put on a really sexy dress. Valentine's Day is coming up. There's always goals that you can set for yourself, right? Valentine's Day is 4 weeks away? Why not start right now, right? You could lose 5 pounds by that time. Then there's the summer. Then there's spring break. And then there's summer. So there's always those little short-term goals, vacations coming up, a wedding, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I'm getting off track. So we talked a little bit about menopause, and we'll touch on this subject again in probably really, really soon, because I think it's an important topic for this group. So Pam says, HRT, hormone replacement therapy, made a world of difference for me, and it did. Pam's been super successful and feels great and looks fantastic. But it took work, and it takes work, and it's a continuous journey. We're all on that continuous journey to be better women, to be, to control, and we have control over ourselves. The world might be falling apart around us. We can't control that, but we can control us and who we are and who we want to become. And we're better people for it, and then it trickles down. It trickles to our families and our kids and our grandkids and those friends of ours that we hang out with. It's a great thing to be able to be in a position, though. You guys all have those choices, right? You can make those choices and then act on those. So, yeah, okay. Judine said, my appendix surgery has made it very hard to feel myself in my abs. So, yeah, and could that be scar tissue? There could be some of that going on. I don't know how long ago that was. Sometimes you build scar tissue. Some people build more scar tissue than others. And so in that area, you're probably going to have a more difficult time. But as you burn off fat in that area, and you do some core exercises and work big muscles and things, you'll lose more and more of that. That might be something that I have other women I work with that have some scars from surgeries and things like that, and unfortunately the scars don't go away and the scar tissue kind of stays there. You can also think, as you, and I don't know your situation, but if you want to lose some weight and burn off some fat, and you get to the point where, yeah, it looks really good and that's still a problem, there are ways. It's almost a year, okay, and your abs still off. It could be that. Yeah, sit-ups are great. There's a lot of core work that you can do, and I always recommend doing lower body exercises, the big muscles, glutes, hamstrings, quadricep work, because you are using your core, and the bigger muscles take up more energy. They're going to burn more calories, really going to boost your metabolism. That is also a really good core workout. Sit-ups are great. So what I would do is just, watch your nutrition and things like that. And honestly, if you need help with that, please reach out to me, and we can get on a call and kind of talk about what a process would look like for you, because that's what I do. And but yeah, it could be that. Pilates is good. That's good for core. Yeah, and the abs, you might be even on one side versus the other, but definitely could be some scar tissue going on. It could be because they cut through the muscle. It could be, I don't want to call it a hernia, but you might have some muscle, the way the muscle healed and how it healed might have caused, some of that to be like that too. So great. And Jody too, being present and a source of support for other women going through menopause and life changes is a great part of this group. It really is, because we're all in the same boat, or we're going to be in this. You might be premenopausal, but you know what? Or perimenopausal, I'm sorry. You're going to hit menopause, and then you're going to be postmenopausal then for the rest of your life. And to have that support, some of us have it happen earlier, some of us right on time, and some of us it's a little bit later. I was probably a little bit earlier, and that is a little bit hereditary. So if your mom went through menopause a little bit earlier than 51, you may too as well. So yeah, you're welcome, Judine. Finding a gym where they care about your success is key too. Oh my gosh, yeah. You want to have that support. We want you to meet your goals. We want you to feel good, and heck, yeah, support is key. It helps with your mind too, right? And it's motivation. If you have somebody in your corner that's going to hold your hand and help you, take advantage of that. It helps because you can reach out, ask questions, get support. You're having a bad day. Ask questions of that person. And it's so true. And because, you can talk to your husband or your significant other. They don't understand. We just want them to listen, right? They're not going to be able to fix it for us. And we want support from them to just listen and love us, and really just support in what we decide to do. So very true, very true. You guys have been great. Great topic, huh? I know. Yes, Kathy, right. Definitely made a difference for me. So Kathy's 62 and she's knocked it out of the park as well. Yeah, very true, Julianne. Coaches know it's deeper than weight loss. And that's so true, right? It's not about weight loss. It's about all the other things. It's about getting enough sleep. It's about feeling good and having energy and feeling strong and powerful, and you want to take on the world, and I'm looking for this self-confidence and positive self-image. That's key. And knowing that you have support in a coach, a friend, whatever, is so helpful, because we know it's not just about weight loss. It's about all those non-scale victories. That's what I call them. And once you're getting enough sleep and things are falling into place, that's when you start to like, ooh, the fat's going away, my inches are going down, the scale is moving. But then you kind of turn away from focusing on the scale. Then you're looking at how my clothes fit, how I feel, and it doesn't really matter what that scale says, right? So very true. I like that, Julianne. It is deeper than weight loss. It is. And that's where we come in and help you guys through that. And everybody in the group is so helpful. So awesome. Well, cool. Let me know if you have any more questions or any comments. Please, please, please do that. I love reading them. And what I'm going to do is this live will be posted in the guides section of the Mind Body Beautiful Facebook group. So go in and it'll just say something about menopause. Let's talk about menopause. It'll be probably at the bottom of the guide section. So I'd love to, if you watch the replay, I'd love to see and read your comments or answer any questions that you have. So, all right, guys, have a great rest of your afternoon, evening. It's been fun, always fun talking to you guys. And honestly, have a great rest of your afternoon, like I said, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Take care. Bye-bye.